That's our motto.
Hey!
All right.
And we're not redoing the opening. We have it. We're just gonna
Roll with our punches.
All right.
So Joe said it's Darth Sion versus SubZero from Mortal Kombat 10.
What game is Darth Sion from? Just like
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. Okay. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of the coin flip, Sean deferred, so I'll be starting, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So, real quick, Darth Sion is known as the Lord of Pain from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. This happens in the Old Republic era of Star Wars. This takes place, 10,000 years before the Galactic Republic and all the events of Star Wars, the movies as we know it. But it's important to note that during Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Republic is in shambles. The Sith have been defeated. However, there are 3 Sith Lords that have created a triumvirate of 3 individuals who share power. The Lord of Pain is power, and that's Sion. The Lord of Hunger, which is Nihilus, and the Lord of Betrayal, which is Darth Treya. So there are 3 Sith Lords at this time. What distinguishes all of them is they all have different abilities and different powers. Sion is the only one that is technically immortal. And what I mean by technically immortal is that as long as he embraces his pain, which he does naturally because he hates existence, he, even at the brink of death, even at pure death, dismemberment, through the Force, he and his pain and embracing what that feels like, he regenerates to full health, like instantly, like not even like let me just charge it up. No, he is coming right back from pure hatred and pain and frustration and anger. So that's a little bit about his immortality. He does have the standard red lightsaber. It's a standard saber. There's nothing real special about it. He does not wear a shirt, and his one eye is completely pale, but he's not blind. That's important. He's not actually blind. It just, through the pain that he's suffered, his eye has lost all that color. So he wears a pair of pants and boots, and he has a arm, gauntlet all the way down to a glove on his right hand, which is the one that he uses for his lightsaber. But he also does have some Force abilities, and that's important to mention. His Force abilities are Force Whirlwind, which, if you're not familiar, Force Push, the one that everyone knows, the Jedi, they do that, they push them away. Force Whirlwind is, instead of pushing them, lifts them up in a cyclone of power that just kind of throws them around. It does a little bit of chip damage, but it's important to note that through the dark side of the Force, he can not fully choke like Darth Vader, but he can harm people through the Force. He can slow them down with the Force as well, because that's a particular power within it. He can drain the Force energy, and technically the Force is just life energy. It's the energy of the universe. So he can absorb energy from other people through the Force. And then the last kind of Force power he has is related to his immortality, and that's rage. When he's suffering damage, he can choose to, instead of being himself, he can go into a fury rage where he will take more damage, but he will also deal more damage. So he is an unstoppable force when it comes to combat and fighting. Even the good character Jedis in the game cannot defeat him in battle. They kill him multiple times, but he keeps coming back. He cannot be stopped. There's only one way that he is defeated, and that is through compassion and saying that, you need to just let go and move on. And if it's a high enough, he will eventually accept it and move on. But if it's not persuasive enough, he's not dying. He's not going down. And I yield the rest of my time.
Come on, tell us about SubZero.
SubZero, specifically the SubZero from Mortal Kombat 10, is actually freshly reborn. Prior to Mortal Kombat 10, his body was removed, his soul was removed from a robotic body, and with magic, he was given a completely brand new body. So this is a Sub-Zero who has gone through all the life experiences of Sub-Zero, but in a fresh body. He is the Grand Master of the Lin Kuei, which is an order of ninja. He wields multiple ice weapons, which he conjures through his cryomancy. So he has a large ice katana. He has ice daggers, as well as an ice warhammer. Sub-Zero has the ability to shoot ice blasts, as well as create an ice clone of himself, which he can use as a shield, or he can actually use as a projectile. If the projectile is touched while it's either in its stationary position or thrown at his opponent will instantly freeze. Another thing about this Sub-Zero is he has gone up against not only other ninjas, he has gone up against cybernetic opponents that are completely robotic characters that have just the soul of another person inside of them. And he is able to destroy these things with his fists alone. He has the ability to rip out, the spine of a robot, essentially. He has also gone up against Immortals, basically gods. And once again, he has ripped the spine out of gods like Raiden. This Sub-Zero is probably the peak performance of any Sub-Zero in any game. And I feel like he has not only the battle experience, but a wide enough skill set that he could take on any single combatant that comes across him. And I'm going to yield the rest of my time.
All right. So my only rebuttal is truly just while Sub-Zero has fought immortal beings and gods and have removed, their spines and things like that, the one thing that is a difference for Darth Sion is the fact that several of his bones don't exist anymore. That is a canon thing. He is held together through the dark side of the Force and his anger and pain.
No cybernetic replacement.
No. The Force holds his body together. So as long as he has the Force and as long as he has that pain and that anger, he is unable to be killed. So even if he loses his spine, it's not stopping him like it does any other kind of being. That's my piece, John.
So part of my rebuttal, and I'm going to use this as a linchpin with what you were describing when you were talking about Darth Sion, is this Sub-Zero isn't the original Sub-Zero. This Sub-Zero is the brother of the original Sub-Zero. And one of the things that differentiates the two is the original Sub-Zero was bloodthirsty. This Sub-Zero made his whole path about compassion and fighting for the good guys. This is a guy that completely reordered the Lin Kuei into a force of good and helping people instead of destroying things. So if anybody would be able to sway Darth Sion to the side of good, I think it would be a force of good like Sub-Zero.
While I would love to debate that, I think it's ultimately going to come down to the judges' questions and their thoughts. So I don't have any rebuttal to that piece.
Which, Ryan, you can go first with your questions when you're ready.
Can you hear us?
Ryan's
hear us?
muted now.
Sorry, I muted myself so I wasn't going to have munching noises all over the auto track.
You had us freaking worried, man. I don't know if I can leave in the middle of this.
No, it's all good. Alex, I have I have a few questions, but my first question is for you. If / when SubZero freezes Darth Sion, how would Darth Sion's rage abilities be able to help him if he's completely frozen?
Good question. Good question.
That is a good question. I would argue that because the Force is everywhere and part of just the universe itself, I would argue that he might not be able to get out, but he's not necessarily going to be killed. So I guess, yeah, you freeze him, but does that mean that you win just because you immobilized him until something happens, whether it gets warmer or it breaks or anything of that nature?
So just to give in a little bit of an answer there, to me, when I'm saying freeze him, just like in the games, you don't freeze them forever.
Yeah.
We're talking usually like about 3 seconds.
Until you hit them.
Well, even then,
Sometimes they
it'll
shake it off,
time out.
essentially, yeah.
It'll
So-
time out, but usually like they'll freeze them and then you'll go hit them before it times out.
I would say that it would probably be the same. This isn't a knockout or anything. It would be something to close the gap and get in punches while he's frozen.
So a few seconds.
And then Sean, a question for you. Does this SubZero show mercy in the face of open aggression towards him? Because he's in a fighting tournament. I would be, even if he is compassionate, I would be under the impression that Darth Sion's not going to come to this fight friendly. He's going to come with immediate aggression.
So this specific SubZero specifically is only in the tournament because he doesn't want evil to win. He's not in this tournament out for blood, going to kill people. He just doesn't want an ultimate evil to win in the actual game. So he is literally fighting because he doesn't want the wrong guy to win.
Jordan, we'll go to you next.
All right, I have a couple questions. Alex, so we're assuming at some point Sion's going to get frozen. This is what it sounds like. When you are frozen, can you think? Are you conscious?
That's
I think so.
I'll
It's
say
never
that's a-
addressed in the games, but I would assume so because it would just freeze your body, right?
Yeah, there's no reason to believe
There's a
that.
deeper argument of whether or not you're conscious when you're frozen. I don't think any of us are experts in cryogenics or
Well,
freezing
To be
But-
fair,
I mean, it's
Fry didn't know anything for 1,000 years.
But it depends. It depends, like how his.
Because the point of cryogenics, like now, like freezing bodies, is that it puts you in a suspended animation, so you're not thinking. So theoretically, you could be awakened in the future, right?
But then we also go with what Sean kind of explained is that it's a temporary freezing. It's not a long term. It's like 3.
But he's still frozen.
Somebody correct me. I always interpreted it as like it magically, instantly encases you in like solid ice, but it doesn't freeze the person inside. It doesn't freeze the blood and the viscera.
I would say
I would say
Yes,
in the
that's what I thought it was
games,
conscious.
like, I'm still the person controlling the character. I still have my thoughts, and like I can plan what happens afterwards. I think that would kind of translate into some level of consciousness on the inside.
I think that's fair.
But would it like theoretically would it break your consciousness for like a split second? Like
Maybe the sense of like,
conscious.
maybe like the second of like, what the hell? Why can't I move?
the reason I asked is because Alex, you said Sion is held together by force. So if he loses his consciousness, is he going to fall apart?
Well, this comes down to the question:
That's an
does he
interesting
need
point.
to, like, consciously manipulate the force to do what it does, or is it just like a background?
What happens if we freeze midichlorian?
But midichlorians aren't. It's fucking complicated.
It's the midi Frigichlorians.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks.
Gotcha.
I would make the argument that because the Force is just existence, that even a split second of consciousness wouldn't necessarily be, because he does still sleep. And when you're asleep, is it your subconscious or your conscious? And if we consider, being frozen even for a second, we've established that there is some level of consciousness, even if it's subconscious, because the idea that we're controlling the individual, so that would mean that they have some level of it. Obviously, if he sleeps, that means he's got subconscious making him stay alive. So as long as he's technically partially conscious in some way, shape, or form, he's being held together.
Somebody tell me if this is bullshit.
It's bullshit.
I'm imagining, it probably is. I'm imagining that the Force acts in unconscious ways,
Yes.
only because of the Darth Vader scene where Anakin unintentionally kills Padme with the use of the Force, and he doesn't realize that he's doing.
Spoilers. What the hell?
Oh, sorry, you've seen
Well,
almost 20-year-old movie.
There we go.
And to
That's
counterpoint that, technically he didn't kill her.
Yeah.
She gave up the whole shit.
Okay,
It's
so-
complicated.
Okay, George. Well, I think we're all gonna have different answers for your question. What's your next question?
Alex, you said he is the Lord of Pain.
Yes.
Does pain fuel him? Is it only his pain? Like if he gets cut, does that fuel him further?
Yes. If he receives damage, it's going to fuel him even further.
Does that have a limit?
No. Canonically, it does not have a limit. I guess we've never really... That's never been tested in any... This is the first time we're talking about it in a tested environment.
And I have one question for Sean. How smart is SubZero?
I was gonna say he's the leader for a reason. Like he isn't just some dumb brute. He's cold. He's a ninja.
So could he convince Sion that he no longer feels pain?
If I'm not
That's a
mistaken,
debatable question.
and Sean, you can correct me on this. Isn't SubZero one of Raiden and Earthrealm's champions, like most go-to ally
Yes.
for his strategies, his intelligence, and his battle? Okay.
So, like I said, this is a leader. I don't know if he'd be able to convince someone that they're not feeling pain, but if it came down to a stalemate and he just saw them getting nowhere, I think he would talk him out of fighting. Like, what are we doing, bud? Like,
This is good. This
Okay.
leads into my set of questions.
Okay.
Which
Jordan, are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, Joe, you're up.
This leads into my set of questions. For me, it's coming down to Darth Sion is immortal as long as he feels pain. So I feel like, however the fight goes, SubZero has to deal with that. Otherwise, Sion is just going to take whatever he throws at him and eventually defeat him.
Mhm.
Right? SubZero is at least in some incarnations, one of the goodest of the good guys, though, in Mortal Kombat. So I guess I have two questions. One is, what is this, what kind of pain are we talking about? What is the source of Sion's pain that fuels his Force-induced immortality? Is it just physical pain? Is it personal anguish? Is it both?
It's both. It
Both.
originally started in his background. It started as emotional pain and hatred towards other species and individuals, and as he, fell more into that, as he started to, get fallen in combat and get damaged, he found that also works. So it's a combination of
Physical
both.
pain?
Yeah.
Because he's missing bones and shit.
Yeah.
it's basically a Goku Cenobite.
Yes, oddly enough, that.
What is his relationship to the pain? Does he?
He embraces it.
He embraces it. He
Yes.
does not want to be freed of it.
No. That's why the only way he canonically dies in the games is by hearing a very persuasive, compassionate speech of why he should just let go of the pain and move on.
So this is getting to my second question, which is, Sean, how likely is this incarnation of SubZero to be able to and willing to deliver that kind of like battlefield therapy type speech? Because I feel like that's the only way he defeats him.
So this is the same Sub-Zero that was able to talk sense to the cyborg Smoke.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to talk him through his programming into regaining himself.
During a fight?
Yes.
Mm.
That's why it's a very. It's not a straightforward fight, or it's not a straightforward answer.
It's going to come down to counseling.
I mean, but if anybody from Mortal Kombat can, it's Sub-Zero.
Yes.
Okay. We'll circle back. I might have one more question.
All right, so I only have one question. So Joe, if they don't have any more questions, you're gonna have to think of yours quickly here.
I
And this-
might have another question.
Oh, good.
Okay.
So Joe, you have more time. This is a question for anybody. We have our mathematician Ryan over there, artist Jordan. We've got our engineer Joe, and our two lores right here. So lightsabers,
Mm-hmm.
they cut through pretty much anything.
Best
Now-
Star excluded.
Yeah. So when they cut through flesh, it's pretty instant.
Yes, it
It also
cauterized.
cauterizes it.
Yeah. When it goes through steel, it's delayed. It takes them to push through.
True.
Which anyone can tell me if this is bullshit or not. The reason I heard is when the lightsaber turns on, there's like a force field around the plasma that keeps it in place, and they have to push the steel through that force field to get it to cut through the plasma. Now, if that's bullshit, I have no idea why they'd have to push it unless it's just like a butter through whatever, a knife through whatever.
Yes.
I mean,
it's more of that. It's not that there's a
There's no sausage facing on it.
force.
Gonna be,
Yeah, lightsabers are complicated.
From a materials standpoint, it's gonna be like I put my engineer hat on for a moment.
Hold on.
It's
Don't put it on just yet. I need you here in a second. So the steel's not important to me.
Okay.
How would it cut through a 1 to probably, I'd say, 1.5, 2 foot block of ice?
I feel like I don't know,
I would
maybe
argue it would be
this is-
fairly quick because the cauterization, it has to be hot enough that it would fairly quickly through ice.
Yeah,
But
that's what I'm
then-
thinking too.
Does
So in
the
the
ice-
fifth movie, we find Luke on Hoth, and he pulls his lightsaber to him and immediately cuts his feet out from the ice that he is stuck in.
And Sub-Zero's ice, at least not that I'm familiar with, does not like insta refreeze without him taking action.
No.
All
So I
right.
think the lightsaber is going to cut through the ice effortlessly.
Because that is very important here for me. That is my only question.
Ryan.
My question for you, Alex, because it has been a very long time since I played the Knights of the Old Republic games. Who was it, and like what was the circumstances around Darth Sion getting talked down?
So it is done by Atten Rand, and it is typically most players have turned him into a Jedi by that point. So for game mechanic purposes, you can convince him either dark side or light side to let go. The dark side is just manipulating him to say that there's no reason for you to continue. I've bested you in battle. You should just let go of the pain. It's more of a manipulation, but typically the canonical, because oddly enough, we do have canon that Knights of the Republic 2 is a female light side following Mitra Surik, the Jedi Exile. So there is a canon way it goes, and it is that Atten shows him compassion because he too was once trained as a Dark Jedi temporarily and is an assassin, and so he knows what it's like to be on the dark side, and he convinces him that that's not the way, it's the path of the light side, and it's letting go. That is the canon way that Sion is defeated.
He
That's
literally,
interesting.
Sub-Zero literally gives that talk to his brother.
That was one of my questions.
So,
Alright.
do you have any other questions?
I got one more quick question.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
What do we know about SubZero's endurance? How long can he keep fighting? Is
As
it
long as he needs to, honestly.
As long as he needs to?
I mean, if we're going canon, 99 seconds, because then the fight's over. But
That one's a little more
I mean-
complicated because of that.
But I mean, it's not like he just gives up his will to fight during that time. He
No, I'm
fights till
talking,
he's down.
I'm talking like from a physical perspective.
Yeah,
So I
he
do have
would
a question
basically
then.
Fight until he's
Based
till it's
on,
done.
But you're not a judge, though.
are there hidden, because there is a health bar in Mortal Kombat.
There
Just
are
like-
technically also infinite matches, so like one could make the argument that technically you could just sit in the corner and just punch for infinite time.
And
Yeah.
what I was going to get at is, what do we have a number on how much health SubZero has? Because if he loses a match, doesn't he also die?
There is a number. I don't know what it is. And
Like
you
it's
have to
a
quantify
straight
the damage
life
that
bar.
Sion does.
And it's got
Yeah.
2 levels, green and red.
And he can go multiple rounds. So
Yeah.
Like, a lot of that stuff I think is a little bit esoteric for the purposes of these fights, in that like it could be like it's the settings, so like it depends on what you made the match settings. It's like
The video game characters.
how many lives does Mario have in Super Smash Bros? You know, like it's as many as you give him.
I think probably the life bar doesn't matter. I think the thing that matters is he's mortal and can die from mortal wounds. Okay.
I have my decision. If you guys do.
Any other questions from you guys?
I'm good.
I have like I guess a minor one. Was it Mortal Kombat 10 or 11 that had the separate loadouts for the characters?
that was 11.
Okay,
10
then
was
I
not-
don't have another question.
Ryan, we'll let you vote first here, so whenever you're ready, you can cast your ballot.
Okay. I'm gonna start things off I think a little spicy here.
Yes.
I have faith that SubZero can talk Darth Sion down. Because I am more or less a fighting game aficionado. I do play a not insignificant amount of them myself. And I do know a not insignificant amount of the lore around SubZero. So I think, like we've said, if anybody in Mortal Kombat could do it, it would be this SubZero. The other thing I think as well is that I do think, even though I don't think the ice will, like, in its own kill Darth Sion, but I think those few seconds of just having to not do anything will, if anything, benefit SubZero in order to being able to talk Darth Sion down. And I think with enough ice powers, like, you can make the ice clone so that, like, if Darth Sion hits it, he turns frozen. He has, like, the bolts of ice he can shoot out. I think he has enough that he would be able to at least surprise Darth Sion a few times without getting killed.
All right. Jordan?
I am also going to agree with SubZero. I feel like the point was made that Sion feels pain, and that's what defeats him with compassion. However, it could be anything other than compassion. All you have to do is make him think of not being angry, basically like the Hulk type of thing, to not feel pain. I feel like SubZero is smart enough to figure out how to defeat that. And he might not be immortal. However, when he dies end of matches, he still comes back to fight another match. So he has some form of regeneration or something. So I'm also voting for SubZero.
Andrew, I'm interested to hear yours.
We're going Roger. You gotta go next.
All right. I also vote SubZero basically for the same reasons that Ryan described. It's if anybody can talk him down, it's this SubZero, because he's and I don't even care about the ice powers and the freezing stuff. Just that he's got experience having done this, and he's a fighter with enough stamina that he can last in the fight against a Jedi, especially because he's got the freezing powers to buy him a little bit of that time, with some distance from the lightsaber type stuff. Yeah, I think he can do it. And if it was anybody but SubZero, if it was just like a straight combatant, like Scorpion or somebody. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
To go to the Mortal Kombat character. In
Bi-Han,
this case, I think
if it was the original Sub-Zero, he's dead.
yeah.
He's dead.
So I think in this case it does go to SubZero.
Thank God. So I know my vote does not matter here,
Uh-huh.
which is good because I was going to vote for a draw.
What?
Let me tell you why. Everybody's
Coward.
decision, no, everyone's decision came down to Sub-Zero being able to talk him down.
Mm-hmm.
If Sub-Zero talks him down, does he kill him? This is a death match.
Ooh.
So if Sub-Zero, which I think Sub-Zero would talk him down and turn him to a good guy,
But then would he kill him?
exactly.
So I'm gonna say, to
Ah.
be fair, when even within the game, when Darth Sion is convinced to give up the pain, he doesn't instantly die. He still has to be killed. He
Right.
just doesn't regenerate anymore. He just dies.
And that's where my ice question came in. If Sub-Zero can't turn him, he has to kill him. How fast does it take him to cut through his ice decoys and everything to get to Sub-Zero? Because like Ryan said and Jordan said and Joe said, the longer this match goes on, the more time Sub-Zero has to talk him down. And I think Sub-Zero can do it, but then in my mind, Sub-Zero would not kill him because he just became a good
So-
guy.
What I would say is there are the friendship endings. Technically, Darth Sion's 49. Sub-Zero is currently about a month old. So I think time is on Sub-Zero's side in the end.
So luckily you all voted for Sub-Zero because if it would have been any sort of thing, I would have it would have been fucked up. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Both of them get a point for me. I don't know how you do it, but I would say it would be a draw because I don't think Darth Sion can kill Sub-Zero if his weakness is compassion, and Sub-Zero's whole thing is trying to squander evil. And if he sensed any sort of goodness
He's
in him, he's
going to
trying
try to
convert him.
bring that out.
Man.
And the only way he kills him is if it absolutely comes to it. But Darth Sion's weakness is kindness.
This is
it's
a
a
really
debatable ethical problem.
This is a really
Exactly.
good point. This is
And then it
making
becomes
those
how
decisions
long
shaky.
does Sub-Zero try to convert? Because if he sees it's working at all,
Yeah.
and then
He still tries with Noob in all of the other sequels.
and then I got to okay. If could Sion fake that he's turned, but then to kill Sub-Zero, you have to get close to him then, and now we're into a fist fight. I don't know.
I would
So-
definitely, I don't know if it helps Andrew, but Darth Sion is not manipulative. That's Darth Treya. Her thing is all manipulation.
Right, so right there, so we wouldn't be able to fix. So I'd have to stick a draw, which this is the first draw vote we've ever had.
Yeah,
But-
we've never had a draw vote.
Yeah.
This is one where it ends with Sub-Zero at Darth Sion's bedside, watching his pass away, sadly.
It's okay.
It
You
takes
can
him,
let go.
it takes him another 40 years to
Flawless
win the match.
victory.
Flawless victory.
So thank God I went last here and didn't kill everything because Sub-Zero moves on from the other three votes.
All right, so
Oh, Jordan, you moved the wrong one. Sub-Zero moves on.
oh wow,
My bad.
Shaky.
yeah. Honestly, I can say this: the moment that we saw this seating when we did it last week,
That fucking hurt.
I knew this was going to be a very complicated one, simply because the way that the characters work. I knew this was going to come down to really just a majority vote on what they think, because truly it could have gone either way. Andrew's right; it really was a draw, even in my own mind as we were arguing. I was like, I can't. If I was an actual judge for this, I could not have picked one. So I hear you on that one, and so I'm not disappointed Darth Sion didn't make it.
Imagine if they're all three draws and they both move on. That's
Okay.
a hell of a tag
Right.
team. New Sabot.
Sean, do you have any thoughts on the
Jesus.
decision there?
I think that, like we said, it would come down to the compassionate warrior, Sub-Zero, talking him through it. Counseling session for the win. But I'm not surprised since Sub-Zero does tournaments like it's his job. So Sub-Zero moves on.
All right.
Yeah, so you've got it there, folks. What's going to be the next matchup coming up?
Looks like we've got
Handsome Jack from Borderlands and Isaac from Golden Sun. For a second I was like, "Fuck! What is the game he's?"
We do have a rivalry. These two will be
I
taking
know, right?
on each other all the time.
Yeah.
We'll
We're
come
never
back.
going to want to speak to each other ever again.
Come back next time to see Handsome Jack and Isaac take each other to the death.
That'd be interesting.